I was reading this book. It's called Wild at Heart, man. I forgot who it's by, but one of the things that it was talking about of how, in the beginning, the sin of Adam and Eve,
Mm,
and how man lost his freedom of expression.
mm,
And I think about that when it comes to the sense of vulnerability, not even knowing how to find our way back there, but trying to go through different sources, because I'm reading a book right
mm.
now called Doers of the Word, and it talks about how we all have that innate desire for intimacy and transcendence,
Yeah.
but we search it out in different ways instead of going back to spirit and truth,
Thank you.
and
I
I
was thinking of the word. I was thinking of the word. I think the two words, and so when we get free from sin,
hmm
we are free from sickness, shame, right? I think that if you look at Adam in the garden, what did he do? He hid. Why would you hide? The other thing is, if God being in spirit was his voice was walking through the midst of the garden, it means Adam that God called Adam and his voice carried on the wind. You were so nervous and so scared that you hid amongst fig leaves, hid yourself amongst the fig trees, and wrapped yourself in garden because you recognize something. You recognize an inadequacy or an inadequacy about yourself, and didn't realize that God never called you inadequate. And then you sit back and put something on to cover you up, and now you're sitting here like, I'm hiding. I'm hiding from your voice because I'm naked. So now I think the biggest thing that freezes men is really guilt and shame.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
that's the original, to me, that's the original separation between, it's really, of course, it's sin. Like, let's not call out like it's sin.
Yeah.
We know it's sin.
Yeah.
Amen. But it's guilt and shame that comes along with the sin. And because we realize for but here's the thing that this is the thing that's so amazing about Jesus. For we were yet sinners, but he still loved us. Man, that's I go to church on y'all real quick. Real quick. It is just I really believe and I really desire for if men would truly worship and truly hear God and truly surrender and submit themselves unto the Spirit of God. I believe that a lot of the issues that we've been having alone would really start becoming more, number one, more evident. But then you will see corrective measures being put
Yes,
in
sir.
place.
I agree.
Because if men would worship, men being the ones that actually are the leaders, not to disregard women, not saying it at all, but men were designed to carry certain things that women can't carry.
Right.
And women were designed to carry certain things that men can't carry.
That's right.
So if that's the case, then if men were to worship in that space and then allow God to truly speak to them in that way, you will see the progression of the faith. Like I don't want to call out certain other groups that men are more prominent in their belief system or more prominent in the forwardness of their faith. But you can see how their faith advances more because there's so many men that are willing to be
Committed.
committed and that submitted. And then we wouldn't see our churches, no offense to anyone, but we wouldn't see our churches ran predominantly by women.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's not me
Oh,
being mean.
man.
It's not me being critical. It's just me saying that it's a visible imbalance that's there.
Yeah.
Where you have people that are so used to saying, well, my mama prayed for me, but my granny prayed for me, but my auntie prayed for me, my sister prayed for me.
Yeah.
Or, my mama made me go to church, my granny made me go to church. There are very few of us, because we can say the same, but there are very few of us where we say, my daddy made me go to church. He told me I had to put this together. You got to go.
Yeah.
It's not too many of us.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing. It's so funny because I'm thinking about a sermon I preached a long time ago at the church when I was on the other side. And it was about bridging the gap. And I think that's what we're being called to.
Yeah.
And I think worship is that space where it can bridge that gap for us.
I agree, man. And it's when it comes to reverence, I think when we truly have a reverence, especially as men, we truly have a reverence of who God is, an understanding of what He's done, the price Jesus paid. It brings us into that space of humility, that space of dependency. And one of the biggest things I've noticed for myself, and even just observing other men, is that pride piece. That is coming with our fallen nature.
Man, yes.
That pride thing. And when I think about, where the Bible tells us that we are Christ's bride. You
Yeah.
know, most men can't gravitate to that. They can't relate with that because it's like, oh, well, he said when Christ's bride, you know, he's talking to women, but now he's talking to all of us, you
Yeah.
know, and in understanding that we too as men, we possess a spiritual womb,
Yeah.
you know, and I think if we were really to get into a place of truly depending on God, truly humbling ourselves, you know, it would bring, man, like you said, it would bring change in such a graphic, like, oh
Almost
man, just
explosive way.
man, it would be just
It'd be
huge,
crazy.
bro. Because, like you said, there's a hierarchy, and a lot of the reason where we see the imbalance in our world and our societies, our cultures, our schools, our homes, you know, it's because there are a lot of men. Like you said, we can be devoted to a lot of things, but what is it changing on the inside?
Correct.
You know, and that's why you said, you know, not to bring in other beliefs or religions, but when you look at a follower of Christ, I'm willing to give up everything, you know, to live as Christ, to die as gain. You know, and I can not eat this and I can pray at this time and I can do all of these things strategically day by day, but is my heart truly being changed? You know, is my
Right.
mind truly being changed? Am I truly being conformed to the ways of Christ? And when I think about that, man, it's so important, especially for men at an early age to really grab hold of that, what that true identity looks like. It
Yeah.
takes me back to what you said about being um, a baby,
Yeah.
you know, coming to God, realizing that, hey, I'm this valuable thing that God wants to love and have relationship with.
Right.
I even think about what you said with Adam and Eve, you know, where they hid themselves
Yeah.
and put on the clothing, you know.
Right.
But when I was reading that, man, and it really blew my mind, you know, in the sense of when God had said, you know, who told you that you were naked? You know, but them being naked was to identify with their purity, you know, their wholeness of who God created them to be.
Facts.
But sin caused that to be something that was impure,
And
and
it was
so I
shame.
hide. I'm ashamed now.
Yeah.
I got to put on these clothing, you know, and I think that's how a lot of men are. You know, sometimes even unknowingly, where we just adapt to what society says and what culture says we
Right.
should be, but we adapt to that state of mind where it's like you don't even understand your value and your worth, you know, and identifying with the fact that worship is such a pure thing that's necessary,
That
you
gives
know.
you worth.
Yeah, yeah.
It gives you.
It
So,
adds to you.
all right. Let me circle back real quick. How we said about how men can't gravitate to being the bride,
Mhm.
right? So think about this scripture. Jesus was talking to disciples and other people. He said that what I'm willing to give up is my flesh and my blood. If you don't eat of my flesh and drink of my blood, you can't be saved. He said, because my flesh is meat indeed, and my blood is drink indeed. So if you don't eat and drink the flesh and blood of the Son of Man, you can't get saved, right? He was like, at that point, the majority of his disciples or the people that was following him stopped following him, follow him no more. They said, because it's a hard sin. And then Jesus turned around, looked at them, and said, does this offend you?
Mm.
What I say is spirit. My words are spirit.
Speak.
So if you can't understand that, so when you say that, or so when we say that he's coming back for his bride, the church is his bride. We are just individuals within that entity called the church.
Mhm.
So when we come in understanding that the church consists of so many different facets and so many different things so that it can be blameless, it can be without spot or blemish. But if we think of ourselves like, I'm married to Christ,
Mhm.
you're losing it because you personally are a church.
Mhm.
But is this church pure enough for Christ to take over? Is this church in the spirit enough to be able to know when he's saying something is the truth? Or are you just gonna listen to what's saying, nah, I'm a man, I can't do this?
Many members of one body.
And he's speaking, and I'm like, the words that he spoke, they might offend people, but not realizing that that's why you have to be in spirit first.
That's right. That's right. Because,
Spirit.
bro, when it comes to the word, man, me personally, this is the only book that I know, man, that will cause you to really examine yourself.
Yeah.
That hurts. That's like, whoa, I don't think I want to read that. And I believe, I think I talked about this on a past episode. Somebody shared with me an interaction they had with a guy who was in prison.
Mhm.
And he said for some time he had become a Muslim. He was reading, I forgot the name of the text that they read.
The Quran.
The Quran, that's what
Yeah.
it is. And he said he was reading that. And he said somebody, you know, gave him a Bible. And he said, man, when he started reading the Bible, he got upset. He got angry because it challenged him to die to himself.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest things that we too as men run from, that piece of dying to self, letting go of what I think is right, what I think is wrong, that false identity of what
Yeah.
it means to be masculine and
Yeah.
have authority and leadership and power. I think that's one of the biggest things, bro, that me myself even struggled with when it comes to trust, when it
Yeah.
comes to surrender, when it comes to walking by faith, knowing that there has to be a level of surrender.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, this is like literally you saying, hey, I'm giving up all
All
of
of
me.
this.
Like not just a piece,
Yeah.
but I'm giving all of me to God and his will,
Yeah.
delighting myself in him, knowing that he would give me the desires of my heart. And somebody was sharing that with my wife and I even recently, like those are not just your needs, but your wants.
Yes.
That transform as the more that you delight yourself in God, the more that you come into relationship with him, those wants, they become pure,
I don't hear nothing but scriptures in my ear. It's just, I hear scriptures going on the whole time you talking. I'm just like, okay.
I love it.
Man, all right, let me just go here. To live is Christ and to die is gain, right? Anyone that puts their hand to the plow and looks back is not worthy of the kingdom of God. And if you're not willing to die or kill yourself daily, then you're not fit for the kingdom at all.
Yeah.
So
Worse.
if we're not in a space of realizing, because if you think about other texts, it teaches you submission.
Mm-hmm.
So you're willing to submit, but God is not asking you to submit; He asking you to die.
That part.
That's a difference.
Ooh, that part.
There's one thing. There's one thing to say I'm submitting myself.
That's deep.
But you have to die. The reason why is because Jesus even talking to Nicodemus. FYI, I always listen to the Gospels. If you want to know anything, just Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John your way through. Truth.
That part.
Anyway, because I'm gonna come back to that. Back to you. So, if we are believers of Jesus Christ and we don't know His words, how will we know how to live when His words be spirit and life? His word is the same word that won't fail, and His word between a jot or a tittle. Do you know what a jot or a tittle is? When you dot a J or dot an I and cross your T, that's a dot and a tittle.
Mm.
So His whole word, heaven and earth will pass away before a dot or a line returns to Him void. Anyway, back to you. So,
Man.
So whenever we are in that space, we have to realize, like, Nicodemus was talking to Jesus, and Jesus said, unless you're born again, why would you need to be born again if you're alive? So Nicodemus was like, can I go back into my mother's womb when I'm old?
Yeah.
Bruh,
Yeah.
stop being stupid.
Yeah.
He was like, ain't you somebody that's like got clout? Everybody know you. You a teacher. You know this law.
Yeah.
He's like, no, but if God is asking us to die first, we're asking to die first so that we could be reborn.
Yeah.
And that reborn, it's a resurrection.
Mm-hmm.
The same concept of what Jesus was trying to teach through his life. He was teaching he will be the resurrection. I am the resurrection. Even when he was talking to Martha, when Lazarus died, I told you I'd be in that book. When Lazarus died, Jesus still went to Martha. He said, do you believe? She said, I know at the resurrection, at the end, everybody's going to be, he's like, nah, I need you to understand, I am the resurrection.
Yeah.
I am that. So the resurrection is right in front of you. And a lot of us don't realize that we have the resurrection power in us if we allow him to take over and let him literally let us die to ourselves and let him remake us and reform us. But if we can't be reborn in spirit,
meaningless.
what's the point?
And that goes back to, like you said, Solomon in Ecclesiastes. He said, all is vanity, striving after wind. It's all meaningless apart from God.
It's meaningless. So, all right, Ecclesiastes is a dark book. It's a dark book, bro. Man. I'm like, sometimes you be like, man, like, am I listening to Zero?
That might make you scratch your head. Like, wait a minute.
Sorry, just hood reference. But I was like, it's depressing at times.
Yeah.
But it all makes sense at the end of it because Solomon really is breaking it down like all of these things that you think that are of value,
Mm-hmm.
all of these things you think of substance. It doesn't matter if you're a king. It doesn't matter if you're wealthy. It doesn't matter if you have influence. It doesn't matter if you have all these things. He says because life is but a vapor.
That's it.
If you've ever seen, all right, if you ever seen what a vapor is, if you ever boil water, right, and you see the steam coming up,
Mm-hmm.
and then you look at the steam, and then when it goes to a certain point, you can't see it no more. That's how life is. And I'm not talking about the whole, all of it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about just one piece that you can focus on. And when you focus on that one piece, you realize it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Life is
That's
but a
good, bro.
vapor. But out of all these things, if you not living for God, it don't matter.
That's it.
It doesn't matter. And Paul would even point it out and say, like, forgetting those things which are behind you, and I press
Yes.
towards the mark. Because I consider all that stuff being, it's not even important.
Yeah.
He's like, he could brag on himself by being, he was a Pharisee.
Mm-hmm.
He was out of the tribe of Benjamin. He was
Mm-hmm.
like, he was an Israelite of Israelites. You know what I'm saying? But even out of that, he was like, bro, ain't none of that important. If it's not for the knowledge of Jesus, it ain't important. And we have to, I mean, I'm saying we because I'm saying it, we as a kingdom people, and we as men
Mm-hmm.
have to honestly stay in a place. And I'm like, I'm speaking it, but I'm really kicking myself in the back of my head the whole time. Y'all just pray for me. Like, we really have to be in that space in a constant way, because when we are in that space in a constant way, then it's easier for God to flow through us.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can be like how scripture says, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. The kingdom can't come unless there's a vessel or a space for the kingdom to reside in.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we talk about the kingdom? Even if you think about Jesus when he was talking to Pilate, Pilate was asking him, where is thy kingdom? He said, if my kingdom was of this earth, surely my people will fight for me.
Mm-hmm.
But my kingdom is not of this world. My kingdom is not here.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, you can't even see it. And then even when other people were asking, where's your kingdom? He said, the kingdom of heaven is not by observation. The kingdom is within you. So the kingdom that we're looking at, I can tell, you can tell by somebody's level of worship how big the kingdom is to them.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
You can tell.
Ooh,
You can tell if their
ooh,
worship level is small, kingdom
ah,
is small.
and I said I said that same thing this past Friday, bro. I said that same thing in a different sense, but I said the same exact thing, and it helps you as a believer. It's not a sense of poking fun, but
No.
it's you almost feel bad in a sense
Yes.
where it's like, okay, God, what more can I do
To
for
help
them to
them.
be persuaded to gravitate to this same feeling, this same level of gratitude of worship that I too now have in my relationship with you. And that's one of the things that now I'm gravitating towards as a believer, as a follower, just not even a worship leader, minister, none of those things, as a husband, father, all of those things. It's like, God, I just want to make sure that my light is
It's
being
big
seen
enough
in a sense
that
where they
somebody
can,
can be drawn
yes.
in. Just even if you never talk to me,
Mm-hmm.
if you just
Mm-hmm.
observe me or you just pay
Mm-hmm.
attention,
That's
like
it, bro. That's it.
we are all called to the ministry of reconciliation.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I can't help somebody come in, what was the point of my life?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that
That's
almost
real.
with tears in my eyes.
That's real.
Because if the words that I
Man.
say can't, I'm trying my best to keep it together. If the words that I say or the lifestyle that I live can't show Jesus through it,
Mm-hmm.
why was I here? For real.
That's it.
Because if my life meant nothing to everybody else, I don't care. But if it meant that people saw you through me,
Mm-hmm.
and it meant that somebody was like, I need to learn of this man that you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about. I need to learn about what is this kingdom? What is this worship? Who is this God?
Mm-hmm.
Who is this Father y'all keep on talking about? The difference between so many, I would say through all the religions, number one, we're the only religion that has ever had their deity die and come back. And the deity died for the people.
That's right.
In addition to it, all other deities, and I'm not gonna say like nobody else in the world ever had this, but a lot of people want to try to bring in Egyptology or Kemetism or things of that sort, and saying that the story is the same and this and that. I'm like, if you want to look at it like this is me about to be really outside the box. All right, if you really want to look at it like this, Jesus is the only example of one who was prophesied to and is being confirmed about, and still is being confirmed about who he is and revealing himself constantly. And even to the point where we're seeing the fulfillment of prophecies and the fulfillment of things that confirm Jesus. No other book has actually done that. No other faith has done that.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here like, and people wonder, like, well, it was written by man, but I was like, no other text has that many different people writing it, and they confirm the same thing over not tens of years, but hundreds, if not thousands of years, and they're just confirming. And I'm like, these are confirming things left and right, and I'm like, bro, y'all, my heart truly goes out to people, and that's why it's like I commend you for even taking this step, because by releasing and revealing your faith could draw one, and if it can draw at least one, it's a life well lived.
Man.
For me, it's a life well lived if one could come and truly be like, Jesus, I want to know.
That's good.
Really. And I think that
the angels rejoice.
And let me throw this out here too. If us, as because we're preachers, we're leaders in the church, we can't be so focused on our position, because as a worship leader, that kind of still leads into, you better get this work, y'all. Just y'all wait. Okay? As you being a worship leader and then stepping into your next roles, I'm not gonna call them out because we got people listening to you. But as you're stepping into your next roles, it's gonna be vital that other people see that as well from you, because that's gonna help kind of like corral more people in, for real, for real. And these moments like this, and these moments that you have with the other guests that you have coming on, these are going to be things that catapult you into a whole nother stratosphere, to where when people start coming in, like, it ain't even me, bro. It ain't even about me. And even as a worship leader, people don't realize this when they talk about, when the scripture says gifts and call come out of repentance, right? If this is your gift of speaking and your calling is to draw people, then when you set or when you speak, it's going to draw people. That's what it's supposed to do. So I'm just encouraging you to keep on going. And I'm like, I don't know how much time we had, but I was like, let me just.
Hey, we can end it right there. That's solid. Man, that's a whole booklet right there, man. Hey, I appreciate that though, bro. Man, because this has been a journey, man. And I'm still learning, bro. Like, I still consider myself. I had a woman of God that taught Sunday school this past Sunday. She was like, she still consider herself to be a babe in this thing, and that's how I feel, bro.
Yeah.
Where it's like, God, like, man, it's so much to you that I still feel like you said, that baby.
Look, I feel like sometimes I'm not even really a 2-year-old. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I got a couple of words good, just a couple, just like
for real,
that,
for real though.
But all the rest of it, I'm like, I'm still learning. I really believe that when we truly dive as men, and we want to say that we're kingdom, we have to relinquish our kingdom of us, or a kingdom of self, and say, God, I'm dying to this kingdom.
Man, I said something like that on a TikTok video some time back, bro. Oh, I wish I could remember it word for word, but I said something in that sense, about before we can ever take the throne, we have to relinquish our stand.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big things that I try my best to live by, that place of humility, being that sacrifice. And the Lord is even dealing with me now. He had my wife say something to me, man, that like smacked me across the face, a little bit.
She said,
and she said to me, in our time of prayer, she was like, what you've been giving God is expired. Like, he wants something more. He wants something new. And that slapped me, bro. I'm like, man.
Wow.
And so it's always, God is always requiring more. That next space, like you said, that next level, that next stratosphere that he wants to take you is going to take another level of obedience, another level of sacrifice.
Yeah.
And when I think about worship, it's like, okay, God, not only just my my devotion, not just my reverence, but how am I truly exemplifying you in my day-to-day
Right.
life, even in my privacy where nobody
Living
can
a
see me.
life of worship.
Yep.
It's different.
Yep.
It's different.
Totally, bro.
It's different.
Totally different.
And I'll be honest, all of us, I won't say all of us, but there are many of us that don't live it every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that's real.
we don't live it
That's
every
real.
day. But and then I'll even venture to say some of us don't even know that we really don't live it every day. Because
Man.
if we truly got to a space where we're always acknowledging Christ, then Christ will also remind us, like, you didn't worship enough today.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
You didn't really
so,
spend that much time with me today.
Ooh-wee.
And if we be honest, there was only outside of Christ, and I'm gonna just throw this out here. There are very few examples of you can see scripturally where men walk so closely with God that they no longer work. And the prime example would be Enoch.
Mm-hmm.
Enoch was an example of one that emphasized the community and the communion with God so much that he walked so much with God that he no longer was. God literally took him. What type of walk would that be? The next example that you can see anything similar to that, like Moses, he got taken up in a whirlwind. Elijah got taken up in a chariot of fire. We know them too. But who else got taken up? The only other person you see is Jesus.
That's right.
And Jesus separated himself from both of them because he actually died. And then he came back. And another way he came back, he was like, oh, y'all out on the boat. That's a bit. Bring me some of that food. Oh, I forgot y'all face still tripping. You didn't even realize. Throw on the other side. Just to throw you a line, quite literally. The pun intended. Jesus said, cast your net on the other side, meaning throw a line to the other side. And then his disciples were like, it's the Lord. He was like, hold up. Peter throwing on his coat, like, all right, let's go. Get in the water. We didn't even see the fact that Peter pulled off a miracle of strength to be able to have that many fish and pull them from the sea by himself.
That's good.
And not even realize in his obedience to follow where Jesus is. Man, I could
That's
that.
good.
And he just pulled all that to the shore. And then Jesus was already on the shore. And I could see him just like, hey, bro, I got...
Man.
Yeah, I want this grilled. I'm going to flip it one more time. You ready? Scripture says come and dine. But Jesus was like, y'all come and eat. That he's eating fish with them.
Yeah.
After he died. I know for a fact, if I saw a man that died and he came back, unless it was really my homeboy and unless, it was really like that, I was like, bro, I must be tripping.
Nah,
for real. And then I'm sitting here like,
real, bro.
He popped up on me out of nowhere. The door was closed. Bro, what's going on?
Where did you come from?
But then to think about that he did that so many more times. Now to say, Peter, when you are converted, now restore your brother. You needed to see me come back. Because if you didn't, you wouldn't be converted here. You wouldn't be converted here. Now you can restore your brethren. So right after that, what happens in Acts? Peter can preach now. He couldn't preach before.
That's real.
He can preach then.
Man, that's so heavy. It even makes me think about James, the half brother of Jesus.
Yeah.
Who was an unbeliever.
Straight up
unbeliever.
James used to straight up cap on him. He was like, your mother and brother are coming to see you. Who are my mother and brother? Or better yet, why are you doing all these miracles in secret? Everybody else will promote themselves. Why don't you do this? And then you really don't believe in me.
Yeah. You playing with my top.
You playing with me, dog. Y'all go ahead and go to the feast. I'll meet you.
That part.
I'll catch you later.
That part. And then James becomes one of the most well-known, respected individuals to lead the church.
Right.
In Acts.
Right.
Sitting on the council.
Right. Right. I
mean, talk about transformation.
I mean, that's to the topic. That's what worship will do. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Worship will transform you into a space to where your desire will be to be in the presence of God so heavy that it doesn't matter who's around you. And when we truly walk in a space like that, there are no words that will be needed for other people. They'll
Yeah.
just know that they like the only way that the earthly man or woman could realize it, like it's a different era about them. They just different. But if you're living in a lifestyle of worship, you can just think about the times that like when you're fasting and you've been praying for real, and you've been really listening to worship music. There's nothing else in your mind, and your heart, your spirit, and you just like you could be in the zone, and somebody can get right by you and be like, I feel like just weeping, or I feel like just praising, or I feel like just going in. What's going on? That's the worship. And like we said earlier, if men would truly allow themselves that space of worship, then I think we will see the transformation inwardly to the men, and that would be the drawing. That would be the drawing. Because you hit the nail on the head earlier about pride. If you think about the level of conversion of people that are in bondage, what pushed Christianity so much upon African Americans or Black people in America was because we was in bondage.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
But we're still in bondage. But the problem is we don't know we're in bondage. Like we're in bondage. And if you think about it, we're in bondage to bills. We're in bondage to our jobs. We're in bondage to so many other things. And yet the one person that could free us is the one that's saying, all I want is your space and I want your time.
See.
When you come to me as a little child.
See. Cut and print. Say.
Hey.
That's all I got. Like what's that? What he say at the end of Wayne Brother Cut and Print? Beautiful guys, beautiful.
Dynamite.
That's it. Well, y'all, hey, I don't even know how to close that out. I don't have no words. I appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you, dog.
That was hey.
Appreciate you, dog.
I pray the Lord is pleased, okay? Because that right there was it. That was heavy. So I love y'all, man. Y'all already know what I love to say. Walking by faith is not popular, but it is powerful. I pray there was something that was said that would cause you to change your life if you're not already a believer, that would strengthen you on your journey of faith, and that you would just, man, help somebody else and show them the way. Y'all be blessed.